been doing like a mix of like on leg days I sprint when my legs are tired, and then on other days I'll do a longer run, which is a mile for me because I don't run.
It's more than me, so it's fine.
It feels long as fuck, but then it's like, oh, it's been 9 minutes. Great.
That's fast. That's great.
My best has been 9 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm trying to get to 8.
Hell yeah.
So. Anyway, enough dilly-dallying. It's time for the fucking podcast.
Okay. So we are the Dog Dialectic. I am Ashley Jacobson with Airborne K9, and I am joined with Kelly Ortega.
With KJK9. I didn't know I was supposed to chime in there.
That's okay. I like the awkward silences. It makes life interesting. And we are just, kind of catching up with each other. I was away this weekend at the Shenandoah Working Dog Club PSA trial. I was selling all of my goods and wares, and we had a lot of great competitors at the trial. It was so nice to see a lot of old friends, a lot of new faces. It was good to watch. We had one level 3. I think we had, I want to say 3 or 4 level 2 competitors, only 2 of which made it to the protection. Although I think 2 of them did both days. I'm not sure that they passed. I don't think anyone passed in the 2s or the 3s. The level 3, though, her first time showing level 3s on Saturday, and she missed it by like 2.5 points. Like, she was really good. Like, really, really good. But, like, she passed all of it except for one scenario, and it was so unfortunate because everything else was, like, stellar. She was really good for her first time showing. And then the second day was not as good, but she still did really great. So it was really awesome to watch.
Was this someone we
was
before on the trial field?
I
feel like
don't know.
I have an idea in my head about who it might be, but I think if it was them, you would have been like, yes.
Oh, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I think if you said it, I might remember it, but it's posted, so it's not like it's a secret.
No, the person
I just can't remember.
The person I'm thinking of like always brings like 4 or 5 dogs. It feels like to the trials, and so they take like all of the medals because they always get all of the points.
No.
They also.
Oh no, not her.
She also totally deserves. She's like awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. No, I know who you talked about. No, it was someone else. I just don't know this person. Oh. But she did amazing, and she was super nice too. I was talking to her a little bit. There's also, what was really cool that happened this weekend at the PSA trial was there was a very popular IGP judge, a USCA IGP judge who was there, who actually judged Medic's BH, his GPR1, and his IGP1 that we did at regionals. And so when I saw him, I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? I was asking him like if he was coming over to the dark side, and he said no, maybe. I think I convinced him. I'm like, you should try and just do a PDC for fun. Like, just do a sleep divisions. It's fine.
Did you say come try a real bite sport?
I did not. I was very cordial. I wanted him to come over to the PSA side or just try it, right?
I mean, if you're that high of a judge, I'm sure you know what you're doing with bite sports and shit.
Yeah, he's a great competitor in IGP for sure. But so he has a club up in Virginia, and I guess one of their members was trying for their PDC yesterday or Saturday. It was a Doberman. They came out, and I don't think they really knew what to expect. I don't think that they were training with any experienced PSA people because the dog didn't engage in the carjacking. So it did not bite at all.
I mean, it's very different than probably most of what happens on IGP fields.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really goes to show it's definitely not a sport you can just kind of show up and give it a shot. But they came out, they tried, and I think they learned a lot from watching. It was funny, too, because the order that they did for this weekend was they started with the level 3s first thing in the morning. So level 3, then 1 and 2. PDC 1 and 2. So the first thing you get to see in the morning is the level 3. But it was really cool because the IGP judge who was there was watching the level 3 protection. Like I said, she did amazing. She did so good. The dog did everything. There was, a little bit of confusion here and there, but overall the dog did really great. And in the end, when he failed the one scenario, like the IGP guy came over and asked me, he's like, how on earth did that dog fail? Like, how? Like, everything was so good. Like, it was so challenging, it was so difficult, and she still failed because even though the dog did so good. And we talked a little bit about it. I'm like, well, they have to pass each scenario. And we're trying to create an analogy to what it would kind of be like in IGP. So like in IGP, in the obedience routine, let's say your dog failed the retrieve section, but passed everything else, even if you had enough points overall, like that would be a fail. But that's not the way IGP works, right? So even if you got 0 points on your retrieves, but you aced everything else, you could still pass obedience. So kind of getting to know a little bit about like how scoring works like that. But yeah, it was interesting talking to him, because he was talking about like what the pass rate is for IGP. And he was saying like his pass rate, I think, is like 79%.
That's like
of all the dogs he judges.
That's lower than what I was thinking, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm also not an IGP girly, though, so I don't know.
Well, you also have to think about, like, I don't know, I would say that's about, from what I've seen, I've been to a lot of IGP trials, and from what I've seen, that sounds right to me. So
yeah, I have not. I've been to like maybe 1 or 2. Long-time listeners know that I avoid it.
So yeah. But then he asked me, like, what do I think the pass rate is for the level 3? And I was like,
yeah, like none. Negatives.
Yeah.
You actually move down levels.
So we were talking about like, well, why would you even like, what's the point of having a sport that is so difficult that like no one can achieve it? I'm like, because it's not no one. There are people who do it, which means it can be done.
Well, what's the point in having a sport that you can finish in less than a year?
Yeah.
We're not talking. I mean, we're not talking about Fred, the sit means sit guy, but like,
yeah,
he's a little bit.
I mean, that's what I was thinking too, but like, I don't think that was the proper argument to have when we're trying to encourage people to enjoy both sports.
Yeah.
Right? If someone says to me, oh, well, why do you do that? That's stupid. It doesn't, if I turn and look at them and go, well, the thing that you're doing is stupid too, it doesn't make them like my sport any better.
I mean, I think IGP still takes like a long time to do. Like, I don't know many people that like, not counting like a dog like Medic where you came in with prior stuff happening with the dog. I'm talking like you got a like blank dog. I don't think you could hit IGP 3 in less than a year if you like, unless you are like very seasoned and like the conditions are correct. I feel like you still need time.
I think from a blank dog, yeah, it would definitely take a long while to get there. I think you could probably do it in about a year and a half if that's like all you did with that dog.
Yeah.
And that's just to pass like up through an IGP 3.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like national champion or anything like that. But the thing is, like, you can prepare for that level 3 from the beginning and then show up and on one day do your IGP 1, the next day do your IGP 2, and then the third day do an IGP 3. And you could do all 3 of those back to back to back because it's the same skills.
Yeah.
Whereas you're not going to prepare for level 3, but going into your PDC. Right?
How dare
you're going to maybe prepare for your level 1 going into your PDC. And you're probably going to start preparing for your level 2 when you're going into your 1. But you're actually going to cause problems if you're doing too much preparation for the 3 going into your PDC.
Yeah.
Because in the PDC, you need your dog to be a little bit more open.
Yeah.
Right? And in your level 3, you want more like neutrality, but you still want to have all that power behind it too. But you got to have that control. And that's going to be the big thing, because if your dog goes and bites the wrong decoy in level 3, you're done. Whereas in the PDC, you're just like, point them in the right direction and let them go. Anyways, let's get into today's topic, the actual topic for today. Okay, so Kelly, what is our topic for today?
What was our topic? I know, like, I'm trying to think of the exact words we used. It was like common pet owner misconceptions, I think was what we settled on.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't want the episode to be us shitting on people, making fun of them after we've slightly shit on people already. But it's not. The point of the episode is not to be mean, even though I love being mentally mean. It's to talk about some of the things that have become a false fact almost, that I think a lot of pet owners are genuinely believing to be a regular common truth, but it really isn't, and we're just going to nicely say things about it. And a lot of, I think, what we're going to say that we might joke about, because I know how unserious we are on this podcast, but I also know a lot of pet owners listen to this. Some of the ways we might talk about things are things that we've heard so much that it's either laugh about it or throw a shoe through the fucking wall. So when we laugh about things, it's because we're broken inside. It's not because we're mean or blame you for not knowing things. That's my disclaimer. I have a disclaimer every fucking episode. I'm so scared of the internet.
Well, they will come after us, so it's fine. It's okay. There's always someone who hates us.
Oh god, someone will find a stick hit on the wrong side of TikTok, and then I'll be done.
What was it? When I first mentioned to Jerry that I wanted to switch medic to legs, he's like, "But all your IGP people are going to hate you." I'm like, "They already do. It's fine. I'm used to it." Okay. So we're going to talk about pet owner misconceptions. So we do have, like, we talked a little bit about some different categories or different topics within this overarching topic that we're going to talk about. But let's start with, you want to start with the one that kind of started this whole conversation with us today? I think we were talking about some of the reasons why people don't want to crate their dogs.
Oh, yes. Actually, yes, I would. And I do feel like this is going to be a little bit of a wing it, messy episode because we did not plan this at all in advance. Like,
we planned it for like 4.5 minutes before we got on the call today, so it's fine.
We planned it. I showered on the fucking video. Let's go. Which is why my hair is wet. Anyway, so yeah, so I've been hearing a little bit of some funky things surrounding the kennel. First, I'm going to talk about things we utilize the kennel for. We use the kennel to prevent the dog from eating people, items they shouldn't eat. We can use it to prevent them from pottying in the house, destroying the house. We can prevent them from escaping. We use the kennel primarily for safety, whether that's direct safety of the dog's going to eat a battery and explode, or the dog, going back to our dominance by default episode, the dog is violent without structure, or the dog needs to be contained for the safety of the humans. And sometimes, the typical thing you'll hear about non-kennel wanting owners is that they don't want to leave their dog locked up all day, or it looks like a cage, whatever. I've heard that they didn't want their dog to not be able to escape from a house fire. I've heard so much crap that I don't even want to list all of it because I feel like it's just going to give more ideas to people. But at the end of the day, I think when you're looking at stuff and you're going anti-kennel, you need to understand that we're really looking at issues and fixing issues. So your house should not be catching on fire every day. If it is, we got something else going on. A house fire is a low percentage item. It's not something that should be happening a lot. Granted, it can be very tragic, whatever. Thoughts and prayers. But the risk of your dog eating a battery, escaping out the window, biting a family member, if we're super prescribing the kennel for a behavior issue, that risk is way higher than the house fire or a tsunami or whatever is happening otherwise. And it's important to understand that there's going to be negatives to everything. There's going to be positives to everything. I leave my dog out all day. Negative is it could harm itself or someone else. Positive is it can escape from the house fire. I leave my dog in the kennel. Negative is it could be trapped. You know what I mean? But really, like, it's an easy fix, honestly. And most of the time, this is what I recommend to my clients, because I understand being nervous. So my dog Scooter has some separation anxiety issues, some barrier frustration issues, and I still get nervous about leaving him in the kennel because he gets so worked up, right? Vomit, diarrhea, like this is stuff that's happened in the past. We're kind of over it now, but I still get nervous. So the first thing I'll do to my clients is I'll explain to them that the kennel is the dog's bedroom. It's a good place to be. We're not using it as a punishment. It's not bad at all. But then I'll kind of tell them, get a wired camera, like a Blink camera, whatever, that goes to your phone through internet. You can check on your dog all day long. Your dog is fine in the kennel. I don't know what else to add to this. I feel like I've been talking very fast.
Yeah, apparently you have a lot of opinions about the kennel.
Yes.
Right. So like the one thing that like you'd brought up earlier was the fact that like, oh, if there's a house fire, like my dog is gonna die if he's in the kennel, right? That's the concern that person specifically had.
Yeah.
But in reality, like think about that scenario. If your house is on fire, your dog's not just going to be able to let themselves out, right? Your dog is still trapped inside your house with that house fire. And if your dog is in the house and something's on fire, you know what your dog's going to do? They're going to find some dark corner somewhere in a closet, under the bed, some place to go hide. And you're not going to know where they are, right?
Yeah.
So even if you're like you show up there because your house is on fire, you got some sort of notification and the fire department's there and you go, oh my God, you have to go in and save my puppy dog, right? Because he's locked in the house somewhere and there's a house fire. They go, okay, where's your dog? I don't know. He's hiding in the house somewhere. And the house is on fire. They're not going to be able to go searching high and low for your dog. But if your dog is in a kennel in your house, you say, he's in the bedroom right inside that window right there. If you go right inside that window, that's where his kennel is. And you know what they can do? They can just grab that kennel and pull it out through the window or through the door or whatever, in like a matter of seconds, right?
Yeah.
So in the event, like if that is the concern that someone has, is that when my house catches on fire, my dog is going to be trapped, like your dog has a much better chance of surviving and being saved if you know exactly where they are in the house.
Yeah.
Right? And God forbid, like somehow the fire starts in the same room where your kennel is. Like if it starts like in that spot, then, in the low chance that your house catches on fire and the even lower chance that it starts in the same room as your kennel, like that's the only time when your dog would be at a higher risk because you're in the kennel. But the likelihood that that's going to happen is so low that the benefit of your dog being inside the kennel in a situation where your house is on fire, like it's going to make your dog safer.
Yeah.
And so like it's completely debunked the idea that like if there's a house fire, my dog's going to die because they're in a kennel. And like the complete opposite is true.
Yeah. And you can also like label windows. So if the dog's in the room, you can label the window dog here or whatever. And as someone, so I've actually had a house fire before. I was in 7th grade, little baby Kelly. And the biggest, we had like one part of the house fire, whatever. It was a very old house. And the issue wasn't the flames. So I had a pet mouse. His name was Mr. Squeakers, R.I.P. Mr. Squeakers. It was literally just a wild mouse I would just build little habitats for. And he was just like, okay, cool. But he actually died of smoke inhalation because, like, obviously, like, no one thought about the fucking mouse because it's a wild mouse. But if that's, like, the number one killer in my understanding of house fires for the most part, because they can put out the fire part quickly. But if your dog's hiding under the sofa or hiding under your bed, one, they're not going to probably waste time. If it's, like, a legit serious thing happening, they're probably not going to waste time and risk firefighters' lives pulling your dog out from under the couch while it tries to bite them, and all that kind of crap. And also, if they can't even find your dog, smoke inhalation, and the dog is lower to the ground too, especially if they're cowering under something, that's going to happen so quickly. So it's really, time is of the essence in that case, where you want to be able to locate the dog, remove the dog safely, even if your little fluffy whatever is the sweetest thing right now. Put a lot of stress on it, and it's probably going to try to bite the weird guy in the creepy mask. You know what I mean? So the kennel is probably the safest option.
Yeah. And like Kelly was saying, like, it's, it's the kennel in of itself is first a safety tool before we even get into how we use it as a training aid as well.
Yeah.
So, when we see all these funny videos of someone getting home after a long day of work and their dog is sitting there in a pile of trash and garbage and everything that they have torn apart and pulled out of trash and got into the bag of dog food and all this mess all over the floor, like, oh, look, I have to clean up this mess. That's so sad for me.
Yeah.
But what I see is, look at all of this stuff this dog has probably been ingesting all day.
Yes. Oh my God.
So you see pieces of plastic and pieces of furniture and pieces of fabric, and you see pieces of different, like chicken bones and stuff that's not good for dogs to be eating or dangerous or toxic. And like Kelly said, batteries.
Yeah.
When I have my hearing aids, I used to have hearing aids that took those little button batteries. And those are super toxic. Like if a dog ever ate one of those, like you have to go to the emergency vet because it will kill your dog.
Yeah. And so actually one of my least favorite TikTok trends ever made me so annoyed was like, this is my dog and here's what he's eaten and survived. And I'm like, I'm watching these videos and I'm like, I'm reading it as, I'm a dumbass owner and here's the ways I haven't killed my dog yet. Like I know my dog has issues, but I'm gonna put it online to make it funny. Like it just freaking drives me nuts. And I'm like,
yep.
Don't be proud of that. This is not a proud moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, our next little mistake.
Okay. All right. So the next one that I have on my list is that all dogs want to be friends. And this can go for dogs or for people.
This I feel like is the statement is small, but I feel like it has large possibilities here because all dogs want to be friends can apply to dogs and people, but it can also apply to body language. His tail's wagging. He's happy to see me. You know how many dogs' tails wag when I'm in my bite suit? Every single one of them. Partially because I'm a toy in that scenario. But basically the tail wag is, hi, I'm happy to, or hi, I'm seeing you and I want to interact with you, does not always mean I want to interact with you in a way that you're going to appreciate. So, the tail wag is not always friendly for sure. But yeah, so not all dogs want to hang out with other dogs, just like not all humans want to hang out with other people. I'm not a very social person. My social circle is literally the people I go to bite group with. That's it. I don't have non-dog friends. I don't like people. I do like my clients and stuff like that. I'm not bashing those kind of people. But the dogs can be the same way. Your dog's idea of a good day out might not be the dog park. It might not be getting invaded by all these rude dogs. They could just be content being by themselves or hanging out with whatever dog you have at home. And the same goes for people too. Not all people like dogs. Not all dogs like all of the people. Especially, and I was actually just talking about this today with a client when they were saying, they're like, my dog just doesn't like certain people. And it's weird. I can't pinpoint why they don't like these specific people. And a big thing we don't think about is human body language. So even just the way a human is built can be giving the dog mixed signals on body language. So a lot of people are like, my dog doesn't like men. Chances, a lot of times I feel like that's because men typically are larger, they're wider, they tend, versus a female, they'll tend to kind of carry themselves a little bit more up and open. I feel like females, we kind of shrink down a little bit in our body posture typically. And to a dog, they're seeing big, open, staring at them because look, it's a dog, and they're going, I've got to be defensive. Or even worse is the crouching down with your hand out to the dog like this, because they got to smell your hand a centimeter from their nose naturally. And that's like you're over the dog, crouched in a very like predatory position, reaching towards the dog, and it's like you're putting him in defense. Please stop. So, you know, dogs can naturally not like people, but it can also be what the human is doing. And a lot of times it's us actually being friendly. You're smiling, you're showing your teeth, and you're staring the dog down. He do not like that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to add to that?
Yeah. Well, I think like, you know, something we hear when people come in for training is like, oh, I just want my dog to be, you know, more friendly when people come over, right? I want my dog to be friends with my guests or my family when they come to visit and stuff like that. And, you know, just some dogs just don't want to make new friends, or it's going to be like a process. It's going to be a process where like you have to create a positive association with new people, because some dogs, just their first instinct is stranger danger, right? I don't know you, you're coming into my house and I don't know who you are, and I don't feel comfortable going up to you yet. Until, you know, you can counter condition that. You can have them give them treats, like my dog Bro. If my dog Bro is going to meet someone new for the first time, and Kelly, I had you do this when you first met him.
Yeah.
You know, I give them a big handful or a whole bowl full of treats and say, listen, you're just going to let him eat these treats out of your hand. And then when the treats are gone, we're going to put him away. And we're going to do that a few times. But I think people want to teach the dog that every new person is going to be their new best friend, and they don't want to have to go through that with every new person. And I think for some dogs, like, it's just not going to happen. Like, Bro is 11 years old now, and we still do this. If he's going to meet a new person, that's still how we do it. And we've been at this since he was like 2.5.
He does such a good job.
He does. And then once he gets to know you, he's the best. He's such a good teddy bear.
Oh my God. He's one of those like dogs where it looks like if you pet him, your hand just keeps going into a void.
Yeah.
There's just like
he's so fluffy.
There's a whole world in there.
There is. He also has his lobotomy scar. So.
I mean, the lobotomy is what made him friendly, right?
Yeah. But then the other thing that people want is for that same, they still have the same like concept about dogs. Like, they want to be able to take their dog to the dog park.
Yeah.
Like, they think that is their goal, is I want my dog to be able to go to the dog park and have fun like all the other dogs at the dog park.
Yes.
And if your dog is not the type of dog who can just enjoy the dog park, you're not going to be able to teach that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just their personality. You can't really change their personality. You can't make that necessarily something that really going to like enjoy. And I think that is something that people don't really understand.
Yeah.
I think that people tend to think that you can teach a dog to be a social butterfly. You can teach a dog to be, an extrovert instead of an introverted dog.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's just not how it works.
I have, are you good on this topic, or do you want to add?
Sure.
Okay. My next one is my dog will protect me. My dog is protecting me.
Yeah.
Your dog isn't protecting you. Your dog needs like a behavior work. So yeah, a protection dog, and we're talking legit personal protection dog. We're not even talking sport dogs, because I think I know a lot of sport.
Well, what's the conception that people have, that a lot of people have before getting into a protection sport? What do they think when they're like thinking about like, oh, my dog's going to protect me, or I want my dog to protect me?
They're like the dog. I just had a stroke. So a lot of times when I'm seeing dogs with behavior issues, resource guarding is typically like the number one thing that I see. People instantly go, the dog is just protecting me. Or they've seen the dog show aggression previously and just assume the dog is going to protect me. Or not even seeing any aggression, they'll just be like, I know my dog will protect me.
I usually see it with dogs who are showing fear aggression.
I mean, just, whatever. I've seen it with dogs that don't even have an aggressive bone in their body, and it's like a freaking lab or something. And I'm like, the only thing the dog is protecting you from is maybe a duck. And that's if its genetics are good. But basically, we've got the gist. The dog is going to protect us.
Well, I want to like make sure people can say, oh my God, yeah, I've said this before. I've thought this before. So I think the scenario that I think a lot of people see, and I've had this conversation at AKC events when I tell them I do protection training, they go, oh yeah, my dog will protect me. And this is what they tell me. This is like, I've heard this scenario come out of like multiple different people who have dogs. Well, yeah, I was out doing X, Y, and Z, and, a sketchy character came around the corner, walked out of the shadows, and my dog barked and growled at them or did whatever. And I'm like, oh yes, tell me more about how your dog is just naturally going to protect you because they got fucking scared of a person who wasn't even doing anything threatening, who was just existing, right? And your dog is showing like fear behavior, which is the fear aggression.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this thing scared me. I'm going to bark and growl at it. But you think that person actually like advances on you? You think that dog is going to actually do something about it? No. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say chances are the dog may probably redirect and bite the handler at that point too.
Yeah, the dog's going to bite you saying, let go of the leash so I can get the fuck out of here. That thing is scary.
And the bad guy's going to give him a high five and they're both off with your wallet. Yeah, the protection stuff. My response is usually, oh, cool, I have my hidden sleeve hoodie in my car. Not actually, because then you'll find someone that's like, cool, let's do it, and then that's how you actually get hurt.
No, I tell people, I'll put my bite suit on and I will break into your house. And I will attack you so we can see what your dog will do.
I would love to be able to say that, but my bite suit's still not goddamn here. Okay.
As soon as I say that to people, though, they go, oh, no, thanks, okay. Right? They go, no, I don't need to do that. That's fine. I know my dog will protect me. I'm like, sure, okay. Your dog is going to run scared with his tail between its legs.
Yes. Oh, and real quick, if you are watching this on YouTube and you have the video version, my arm bruise, I am safe at home. This is from dogs. It's okay. I'm realizing I'm like going like this. I'm like...
You're showing off your bruises. It's okay.
It's because I'm a big, strong guy. Anyway, I know, like, even... Like, in this, we're talking about, like, personal protection dogs, right? Dogs that are raised from genetic, ideal parents. They're raised as puppies to be personal protection dogs. And I know, like, this is different than, like, a sport dog. It's even different than, I would say, a police dog, because we'll get more into it later. But, like, I feel like even I know some sport dogs that may not even stop a home intruder. They may get scared, depending on, like, what sports they come from, where they're at, and stuff like that.
Oh, no, Medic will be like, oh, what are you looking for? Jewelry? Here, I'll show you where it is. Yeah. And Daria will be like, oh, my God, my new best friend is here.
Yeah, because, like, you... Depending on the handler and stuff, like certain people, you want your dog conditioned to the equipment. You don't want your dog just kind of like, he might bite your flesh. We don't know. LOL. As you're.
Oh my God! If Daria's outside when the delivery people come, she is like trying to climb over the fence, like give me hugs, give me kisses, pet me, like wiggling herself crazy because a new friend is here.
Yeah. So it's like we're in a whole different kind of category. Which I realize this is primarily pet people listening to, so I don't want to get like too crazy deep.
I don't want to get too like into like the personal protection dogs. Yeah. I think what people are expecting their dog to do is very unrealistic.
Yes.
Right. And look, we're not even talking about like if someone breaks into your house when you're not there. We're talking about like if someone comes up to you on the street and holds you at gunpoint or knife point to try and take your wallet or try to hurt you or, assault you or whatever, that your dog is actually going to do something about it.
Yeah. And, like when we're looking at, like if you're looking at a personal protection dog, you're looking for friendly dogs. If you're going to be taking it everywhere, you're looking for a friendly dog that can go into that work mode when you need it to go into that work mode. So if your little Fifi, Fido, whatever is going psycho because someone's like 12 feet away from you and not looking at you, that's not protecting you. That's a liability. And it takes like months and months of training on a genetically ideal dog already by an experienced person to create a good personal protection dog that can be reliable, not to mention the years of practicing afterward. So if you have not trained your dog to perform these behaviors, it's like having a gun that instead of having a trigger, it's just a timer and the barrel just goes wherever it wants. Like you're just it's terrible.
Yeah. And that's something too, like, let's say, you have 1 in a million dog who will actually advance towards a threat, naturally. There are the dogs who will just end up doing that. And, they're 1 in a million, which is great. But unless you take the time to put control on that dog, like, it's just going to make the situation worse.
Yeah.
1. And 2, like, in a situation where I am out with my dog and someone tries to attack me, right? And I use my dog to stop that person, i.e. to save my own life. Okay, maybe it works. And maybe that guy is like, oh shit, like this dog's gonna fuck me up. And that person takes off. Where do you think my dog's going? They're gonna keep going after him.
Yeah.
Now my dog is running. Now I'm running trying to get my dog back. That person now is trying to run for their lives. And now my dog is just mauling them.
Yes.
Even though that person is no longer a threat.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to get in trouble now?
Yeah.
I am, right? Or now my dog is loose doing something crazy, or someone bystander is coming over trying to help me or help with the situation. Now my dog's probably going to go bite them because I don't have any control. And so a dog, even if that dog was going to quote unquote neutralize a threat, without control, you're really just going to make the situation 1,000 times worse.
Yeah. Like, we get into things like teaching the dog how to humanely bite as well. Like, you want the dog pushed in and have a really full grip, because if the dog grabs onto someone's arm and starts pulling and pulls their bicep off or pulls their forearm muscles off, whatever the hell those are called, there's too many. Like, they pull that off and you guys go to court later or whatever happens, or it bites the guy in the face. Like, you've caused some serious damage to a human, and Fido's going in the forever box. He getting put down.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do it in a way that's safe. So the government's going to view that as liability issues. So, yeah.
And the other misconception, I think, is like this is probably the most common one that I get. So people come in for training and we do a consultation and we have a long conversation. We talk about everything that's going on with the dog up to this point. We talk about what they want to get out of training. And they'll say, I want my dog to be able to walk on the leash politely. I want them to come when I call them. I want my dog to, wait at the door. I want my dog to be more confident in these situations. And, we're talking about the different types of programs. I'm like, we can talk about all these things that we can teach. And like, oh yeah, and if we got time, protection training.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Like, just a little sprinkle on top, just sprinkle a little protection on there. I just want him to, do all of these skills and, protect my family if you got an extra 15 minutes to teach it.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, that's like years of training to teach your dog how to do that. And the concept of like, just kind of sprinkle it on top as a, because I give my clients the opportunity, hey, if we cover all this stuff, do you want us to teach your dog like maybe some new tricks or something like that? Like, oh yeah, I can teach my dog to roll over. That would be a reasonable like sprinkle on top, right? Hey, if you have time, teach my dog to do this cool party trick so my friends come over, we can show it off. I go, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But they look at things like protection dog, and actually I hear it with service dog too. Like, oh yeah, I just want my dog to be a service dog also. They just kind of sprinkle that on at the end as if it's a little just add-on. Like, oh yeah, I just want to get a side of fries with that.
Yeah.
No, that's not how that works.
So
I think they don't have any concept of how much work and training and consideration goes into these skills and skill sets, essentially.
And I think this is a great leeway, as long as are you good on this topic?
Yeah.
Okay. To how many or how long it takes to teach a dog a behavior. People don't understand it. They think one session and we're good. So when I tell them it takes 4 weeks for basic obedience, they look at me like I got 3 eyeballs. And a solution I would like to do for this is I want to, you know, those little like handheld tally counter thingies, like you press the button and the numbers go up. I want to get one of those, and I'm going to use it as a clicker, and I'm going to train my dog something new, and I can turn it around and show you how many freaking rewards I had to give my dog to teach them a skill, and it's going to be probably in the thousands. Like, I think, like, I hear a lot of people that they're like, oh yeah, I taught it to my dog, and he picked it up first try. And it's like, no, your dog's just really good at guessing. Because it takes, like, so many repetitions to be fluent in something. It takes humans, like a month to earn a habit? Like, your dog doesn't even speak English. There's no way he's doing that faster than you. And at the end of the day, when we're teaching behaviors like sit and down and place, we're building habits. Every time I say place, you get on the place bed. That's your new little habit, right?
Well, I think the misconception is the fact that they don't understand what our standard is for knowing a behavior.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can teach a dog how to sit very quickly. Like, I can teach a dog, when I say the word sit, you put your butt on the ground, you can get a treat. I can do that in like one session. That is not hard. But the reason why people come to us for training is like, oh yeah, I can get my dog to sit in the living room. But when people come over, or when we're out in public, or if we're going on a walk, like, my dog doesn't listen, right? And so when they're like, why does it take so long to teach basic obedience? I taught my dog how to do this in no time. We're teaching the dog how to do this every time.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's, you know, in our backyard, whether there's squirrels running around, whether there's people or there's kids or loud noises, right? And when we're talking about basic obedience, we're talking to a pretty low standard comparatively, but still this context of being able to do it with distractions around, maybe in a stay behavior. So not only sit, but stay seated for a duration, or while I'm a little bit away from you, and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that people don't understand that goes into every single behavior we teach. It's not just teaching my dog that when I say the word sit, you put your butt in the ground. It means when I say it, you do it every time, whether I'm holding a cookie or not. And you're going to do it until I tell you otherwise. And you're going to do it no matter what else is going on around you. You know, we're going to teach that for sit, for down, for heel, for coming when called. And we're going to do that to a specific standard. And that's when we talk about that basic obedience. Like, they don't understand that basic obedience is not as basic as most pet owners would think, at least for us. I don't know if K9 lowers or hires their standard.
I'm gonna go with.
Oh, I bet you have a higher standard now because you got to do it better. I bet.
Well, now I have to have a higher standard because you said all this, so now I do have to throw in that extra 15 minutes of protection training. Shit.
Good.
You just the episode. God damn it.
Love it. And so, like, you know, we're gonna have a set standard that's, you know, we're gonna say, hey, this is what people want, right? It's cool if your dog can sit for a cookie, but that's not really that useful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good one. I'm glad you brought that up.
And that's why, like, so I'll occasionally have people that will be like, he already knows sit. Because I'm like, I'll do update videos, and they're like, well, why did you teach him sit? He already knew that. And my answer is like, he doesn't know my version of sit. Because I know that he probably knows sit in front of me. He probably is doing it off of a hand signal. And it probably takes like 5 or 6 sits to get there. So, you know, it takes a long, long time to get a behavior, not to mention how to get the correct behavior.
Exactly.
Which correct, I guess, is kind of a loose term because anything's correct if we want it to be.
I like to use the term useful.
Yeah, useful is better.
Right? Teaching my dog to sit in front of me is cool.
I shouldn't have drank that Dr. Pepper.
Useful.
Caffeinated as hell.
I chugged 2 monsters for this. Yeah. Because I drove back from Virginia this morning.
You're better than I am. I've been cutting back on caffeine. I'll have a cup of black coffee in the morning, good to go. And then sometimes in the evening, I'll have a Dr. Pepper as a little treat. And some days, if I'm having a day, I'll have a Ghost energy drink. But that's a very rare moment.
What about your pre-workout?
I have not been taking it because it's one of the strongest pre-workouts you can legally obtain, and it makes my nose run and it makes me pee a lot. But what I didn't like was that it like throws me off a cliff after like you're super, energized. And the issue with that is that I work out in the mornings, and so then I don't get anything else done, it feels like, in like a quick.
You can get less caffeinated pre-workouts. You don't have to get the most intense one.
I know, but they tend to make me sleepy. I don't know why. Ruins the vibes. Mine's so strong that I take like half a scoop, by the way. Yeah. We lived together for a minute. You know how caffeinated I was.
I know.
I think I put my pump sauce in your fridge.
Yeah. Anyways, I think I figured that out.
Yeah, it was horrible. Good. It tasted like cough syrup.
Gross. Okay. So I want to talk about misconceptions people have around training tools. So I wanted to start with e-collars.
Go off, queen.
And what people normally think about e-collars before we kind of go over how we use them.
Am I talking about it or are you talking about it? We got an awkward pause happening.
Yeah, usually I make the awkward pause so that way you start talking.
Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, so the e-collar, I hear all kinds of crap. Like we've opened a bit of a can of worms here, fellas. So for one, the e-collar, a good quality e-collar. I'm not talking about some of the shifty, like taped together ones you might get on Amazon. Like a good quality.
Well, can we start with like what people like say about the e-collars? People who don't know.
That's what I'm about to do. Okay, so I hear the e-collar burns the dog. I don't hear, but I see that it's the Magic TV remote. I definitely hear plenty of like it's inhumane, stuff like that. I hear the ones where there are people that are like, you have to do the tone first, or I only use tone and vibrate because that's the only humane way to use it. Vibrates.
You want to know what I hear? And I'm sure I'm going to say it and you're going to go, oh my God, I hear that all the time.
Go for it.
I always get the clients come in and say, oh yeah, I had an e-collar for my dog, but it didn't work.
I have not actually had that. The clients
Really?
Yeah, so the client I had that did say they had an e-collar, which I'm always like, let me feel it. And of course, like every time it like makes me jump out of my skin because it's like the sharpest feeling ever. And their thing was the dog freaked out when they put it on. They put it on the dog, cranked it, and then we ended up not being able to do e-collar with the dog because he had superstition to the thing. And it was just too much.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, you go ahead.
I get the clients who come in, they're like, oh yeah, I tried the e-collar on my dog, but it didn't work. I'd press the button and he wouldn't come, or like I used the tone, but he didn't care, or I used the vibrate and he didn't do it. He didn't come to me. He didn't do whatever he was supposed to do. And I'm like, oh, tell me more. Tell me more about how you just started pressing random buttons and it didn't work.
Yeah. So sometimes you freeze, by the way, and I just assume you're continuing to talk. So if I don't answer, it's just because you're frozen.
I do the same thing to you.
Okay, cool. I just like smile and nod, and I'm like, great.
Well, I thought you looked at me kind of funny because I heard a noise come from my kennel room. I'm like,
no, is there something? I was just like, oh, we're frozen.
That's
okay. But yeah, I think what you're talking.
But I think people like assume that with the e-collar that we'll talk about how people think it's dangerous and inhumane in a second. But the biggest thing that I hear from my clients is like, oh, I tried the e-collar on my dog and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Meaning they put it on their dog and start pressing buttons, expecting the dog just magically like do what it's supposed to do, like a TV remote, and it didn't work.
Yeah. I think that goes along with like the magic remote aspect of things, which there's another tool we can talk about the magic remote. Okay, good. I was just assuming you weren't talking anymore because I was like, I'm just going to start talking now, even though you're frozen.
That's fine. That works.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Are we talking about how people say they're inhumane, or are we talking about how the magic remote portion of things right now?
I mean, We could talk. I think we can finish out the magic remote thing if you have any more to say about that.
Okay. It's horrible having to be caught up because of my internet being so bad. I feel like I have to get caught up on my own conversations. Jeez. Anyway, yeah, I mean, e-collar, you got to condition it, you got to train it. It takes time to train it. You can't just pop it on the dog and start electrocuting them. That does not work. Not that it's really like an electrocution. You just can't be like cranking it and, obviously the dog feels it. I don't know what else to add to that. So we'll move on to the inhumane portion now that I've said the word electrocute, which I should not have said. Yay. Words mean things. So, e-collars are actually the least harmful tool you can use on a dog because it does not cause any physical damage to the dog. You cannot cause physical damage to the dog. You'll see online people will be like, look, my dog got burned by the e-collar, whatever. Most of what you're seeing are pressure sores from someone who put the e-collar on and just left it on. Those are pressure sores from those metal contact points, or it could be an allergy from the metal. Or in a very, very rare case, it could be one of those cheaper, like internet, like $10 e-collars, and we don't condone those ones because they are unreliable and unsafe for a reason.
Another rare case as well is if you are just putting the e-collar on way too tight. Yeah. But like your dog, and I have never personally had a dog come in who had an allergy to the e-collar, but I have had other trainers say they've had it. More often than not, if the dog is getting irritation, it's because the dog's either wearing the e-collar too long, meaning you're not taking it off at night, or it's sitting in the same spot too long. And like every time my dogs come out, if they're wearing their collars, I just take it and move it around a little bit so it's just not sitting in the exact same spot all day long.
Yeah. Because for it to work, you have to have the metal touching the skin, so it does have to be snug. You don't want them to wear it for longer than like 10 to 12 hours. That's like the limit. And even then, as you said, like you should be kind of moving it around because I would imagine it does get uncomfortable. And if your dog is wet, that time frame is even shorter. If my dog is swimming or something, like I understand, like I'll keep it on my dog if we're doing off-leash swimming stuff and like I want to keep my dog safe. As soon as my dog's back in the car kennel, e-collar is off. I do not keep it on my wet dog because that's just going to make your pressure sore time frame that much shorter. And obviously we don't want our dogs to go ouchie. So the way an e-collar works, and if you have not felt one, I wouldn't say you have to buy one because they're like a little bit expensive, but if you want to feel one, find someone with like an e-collar tech brand or like a reputable brand that people like and it's a popular brand and feel it.
Wait, you're not going to rep your new favorite?
I'm trying not to sit here and list every brand under the sun because I get carried away. But I am turning into a bit of a sport dog fan because of the ease of use.
Traitor.
I'm sorry. Blame my club director.
I do. Although what's funny is when I went to Starmark and I was using Sport Dog before I went there, and I showed up with my Sport Dog, and I was like, I like the Sport Dog because X, Y, and Z, and he was like, well, I like this one because X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, huh.
So here's what I'm finding out because I'm having the same shit. I did not go to Starmark, but I learned from Ashley who went to Starmark. And Ashley learned from my club director. We were a big, happy, freaking family. We need to be sending Christmas cards and having family gatherings.
And what's funny, too, is that, and Benny, our new training assistant, he learned from Derek, the other assistant instructor from Starmark.
We need to have a goddamn family picnic happening.
I know.
God, I hope he does. I hope my club director doesn't listen to this episode. I think I say that.
I'm sending this directly to him.
I think I say that every episode. Please don't listen to this, man. I'm gonna get kicked out. Anyway, so like I'm learning stuff from you, and then I'll go because I'm doing a little bit of a mentorship thing with my club director right now, which is totally worth it. It's like been a great time. And it's like I'm getting a little bit of conflicting information. And what he's saying is like, basically he's like, yeah, that's how I learned it, and I taught it that way for a long time too. But he's been going to a lot more, like, he's gone to the Napopo school. He's been like getting with a lot of different trainers and stuff. So it ends up being like, everyone just learns new shit. You never stop learning kind of stuff, I think. And I think the big issue that he was having with the e-collar tech, one, the ease of use, which I can totally get behind, because if you like the mini educator remote, like if you prefer that remote, you are not well in the head. That is a horrible remote. The circle thing, no, horrible. It's really hard to like.
I love the fob educator.
I do too for like my dog, but what I don't like is that I have to sit there and click buttons and look at the screen and be like, okay, did I hit 10 or did I hit 12? Like whatever, like I'm not going to count. And by the time that I've clicked enough buttons to get to my correction level or whatever level I needed, like it's too late. The time frame has passed, and that's why I'm kind of falling.
That's why I program it. You pre-program it the way you need it, and that way, once you do that, you don't have to press any more buttons.
I know, but I need options, because yes, I have one button set to rising stem, and then I have one set to static stem. But if my dog like needs a little reminder to kind of put her head up into my competition heel, I don't need to blast her on a full correction level the same way I would if she broke her down and tried to like do something stupid. You know what I mean?
That's what the rising stem is for.
Okay, but the rising stem can take too long when she breaks it down and do something stupid. I want like the big smack, you know what I mean? But anyway, this isn't the point of this podcast. Oh God,
Jesus Christ!
I know I put my phone on mute and it just doesn't freaking work. But yeah, like the Sport Dog has that really easy like tactile. You can click each level and feel it very well. That's why I like it for my clients. Anyway, back to the original program, because this is not an episode about e-collars. This is just, can we just name this one the Off the Rails episode? Because like I feel like we're barely following theme at this point.
We're trying our best.
But, go around, feel different e-collars. They all have different patented stem levels. So, like, you'll hear a lot of people say Dogtra is pretty sharp. To me, it does feel sharp. Everyone feels everything a little bit different. But for me, the Dogtra feels a little bit sharp. It's one that I put in I'm probably not going to use category. I do like their bark collar, though. I do use the bark collar, which I believe Ashley carries at Airborne Canine. We'll plug a little sale in there. So, kind of go around and feel them, but no matter how high you set that e-collar, you'll notice you will not have a burn mark. And you can totally put it up to 100. Like I've put them up to 100 before and just stuck it on my arm. The most marks I'll get is a little, like 2 little red dots where I pressed it into my skin. I'm very pale, and any like little bit of irritation turns my skin red. So if I push stuff into my skin, it turns me red. But you'll notice like you'll have a little bit of a muscle twitch if you have it really high. So like, in some units, depending on where you place it on your arm, your hand may move, but it doesn't cause actual physical damage to your body. So it's a very actual safe piece of equipment if you know how to use it.
And the other thing I want people to think about too is like, oh, well, it's so mean to like shock your dog and X, Y, and Z and to do that to your dog. Well, the e-collar tech at least has 100 levels you can use. And if you put it on your dog and put it on a level 100 and start just frying them, it's not the tool that is abusive.
Yeah.
It is the person holding the remote at that point.
Yeah.
And so, when we're training, we do talk quite a bit about how we use the levels. Like we're very specific about what levels we use. I talk about Daria a lot. I have her on a very, very low powered e-collar, and I have the max on her e-collar set to like 30.
Really?
Because I don't got to go above that.
Well,
I think if I get to 20 is her correction level.
Oh, she's kind of soft. I didn't know that.
She's not soft. I taught her this. If you teach it, then they're responsive.
Yeah, but
trust me, she's not soft. Jerry's been going at her with the cans, and she takes it like a fucking beast.
Yeah, but you're saying
she's not soft.
So lately I've been thinking of the actual 1 through 100, which I know this is kind of contradicting what your point was, and I'm sorry to interrupt your point. I'll let you resume it in a second. But I started thinking...
Is that your Apple Pencil?
Yeah, no, it's this little thing for my Cricut. I'm just fidgeting with it. Leave me alone.
I thought you were doing your nails with your Apple Pencil, and I was like,
No, I'm playing with this little pointy thing that stabs.
Oh, okay.
I think of that 1 through 100 as 1 through 10. Not that I'm like jumping from 10 to 20 or anything like that, but it helps me like compartmentalize where the dog is a little better. So when you say her correction level is level 20, I hear her correction level is level 2. And I've met Daria, but it's been a while. And I'm like, there ain't no way in hell that dog's listening to level 20, because she was freaking a nutcase when I met her last.
She's still a nutcase.
Well, good. Keep her that way. What a nutcase.
But with the proper conditioning, and that's, we can get all in the weeds with e-collars.
Like,
but with the proper conditioning, it's not, we don't want the e-collar to initially mean stop doing that, right? We don't just use the e-collar for correction. We don't just use the e-collar to punish bad behavior. We start with teaching the dog that when you feel his e-collar, it means to do this behavior.
Yeah.
So when I tell my dog to heel, right, we condition the e-collar to mean heel. And if I ask my dog to heel and they don't do it, then they feel that e-collar. It's not necessarily that I'm solely using it to punish my dog's failure to not heel or my dog's failure to heel. It's pushing my dog into that behavior. So I don't have to have a very high level for my dog to understand that this feeling means to do this behavior. Now, I can get to a level where it's uncomfortable, where that 20 is, where my dog goes, ooh, I wish that would stop. This behavior will stop that feeling.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for every behavior that we use it for. So I think once people begin to learn how to use the e-collar for more than just stop that, you don't have to use as high of a level.
Yeah.
If we're just using it to, slap the dog on the wrist and say, cut that out, then over time, your dog is going to say, I don't really care, Like, was this the phrase from Inglourious Bastards, where the guy is like, he's like, you'll be shot for this. And the other guy's like, no, I'll probably get chewed out. I've been chewed out before, right? Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I've been there. Like, when I first joined the army and I would get yelled at, it'd be like the end of the world. Like, oh my God, I screwed up. I get yelled at. They're mad at me. And I'm never going to recover from this. By the time I got out, I'm like, I was doing all sorts of stupid shit. I'm like, what are they going to do? Yell at me? Smoke me? Write me a counseling statement? Little like bad girl form, right? They just, okay, fine. I don't care. You can yell at me all day long. I don't give a shit anymore. But your dog will get there too. Where like maybe level 20 is enough when you first start. And then after a while they go, I don't really care about that anymore. Now I go 30. Now I need to go to 50. Now I got to go to 70. Now I need to go to 100. And I don't have anywhere else to go from that. And now I need to get a new e-collar because my dog is so desensitized to this e-collar that it doesn't work anymore. Like, bro, because of the way we taught it with the original trainer I went to before I became a dog trainer, he got completely desensitized to the e-collar. And even on the high levels, sometimes he just didn't give a shit. But you can accidentally do that because you just don't know how to use the e-collar right. Anyways, what was the other piece of equipment you were going to talk about?
Oh, the clicker. The other TV remote.
Yes.
Yeah, this one's not as fun. But yeah, the clicker, I see all the time people get a clicker and they're like, wow, this doesn't work. I'm clicking it and the dog's not doing anything. And you have to condition it. That's it. That's the magic. You just have to condition the clicker. It's not meant to tell your dog to do something. It's meant, which I mean, I guess you could use it as that if you really wanted to, but the prime way people are using it is it marks the reward. So the dog sits, I click, I feed. The dog does a jumping jack, I click, I feed. And the dog understands that the exact moment that I clicked at is the exact thing I want, the exact picture. It's like taking a little snapshot. So yeah, you have to condition that. That's it.
Yeah.
The end.
I see that a lot where people are like, oh yeah, when I click it, my dog comes to me.
Which, like, you could train it as your command for the dog to come back, but you know that the person in that conversation did not. You know what I mean? So.
Mm-hmm. And even if the dog was maybe clicker conditioned previously, like you're accidentally teaching your dog other behaviors by accident.
Yeah.
So
speaking of clickers, one of the members in my club, I thought that she had a hidden clicker on her somewhere. She makes such a good clicker sound with her mouth, like perfect every time. And I'm like, what?
oh my God,
I want this.
I want that. Like one of the things I always try to do as I'm getting closer to trial is I stop using my clicker and go to only verbal markers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if I could do that with my mouth, man, that'd be amazing.
It's just insane.
Okay, prong collars. You want to do prongs?
I feel like we could lump prong. Well, yeah, we can definitely talk about prongs, but we can also kind of lump in a lot of the dog walkie stuff in there as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk. So I wanted to do prongs in like the same kind of context. Yeah. So like the thing I hear from people about prong collars is like, oh yeah, I put a prong collar and my dog doesn't pull as hard when they're wearing the prong collar. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit separately from what people think are the humane training tools.
Yeah.
Versus the prong collar, which they think is the inhumane training tool.
Yes. I wish I could put up little pictures in here because I just want people to see that foam collar I keep talking about because no one believes me how horrible it is.
You can. We can put pictures in this.
It's too much work. Because then if I start...
I'll do it.
No, but if we start putting pictures in, it's going to be editing out all the dumb shit I say and don't actually want to say. And then one thing leads to another, and the podcast takes forever. And this is not a work thing. This is just a chit-chat thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about today about like why we started this podcast. And I remember going back to like the conversations we would have in the parking lots of the park after we were done training. And we're like, okay, I'm so tired. I got to go home. Yeah, we can't sit here all night. And then we sit and have a conversation for an hour about this stuff.
I've never gone back and listened to one of our episodes because I am so like, I know as I say stuff, I'm like, I did not want to say that way. But then I just tell myself no one listens to it. And if I don't listen to it again, it never happened.
Well, if you notice, all of our highlight clips that I post are all you.
But they're all really good. You always pick like the best part of the episode that I'm most proud of. So it kind of
I know. It doesn't happen by accident.
I know, but it kind of catfishes them because like one of my club fellow members of my club, he was like, I love that podcast clip you're talking about. That was like really smart. And I'm like, cool, don't listen to the rest of the episode because you're going to be disappointed. Like, leave it at that. Give me my gold star. I'm going home. Anyway, prong collars. Yeah. So you'll see people are like, prongs are abusive. Prongs put holes in your dog's neck. Prongs do this. Prongs make Satan rise out of the earth. Like all this stuff. And you'll see online, there's like dogs with holes in their neck that looks like it came from a prong. And there's like a couple points to this. Points because it's a prong. Yay, Kelly. For one, a lot of the damage you see from prong collars is prong collars not being used correctly. So the dog might be tied out to the prong collar. The prong collar might be too tight. The person could have helicoptered the hell out of that dog. Like, you don't know. It also could have been an improperly made prong collar. I've heard rumors of people sharpening them, which, what the fuck?
I've had an experience recently, or a few experiences recently, that can like debunk this whole like prong collar is going to puncture my dog.
Go for it.
And so I go dock diving with Medic and Daria, and Alba too, but she's easy. Medic and Daria, when we go dock diving, they get more excited for dock diving than they do for bite work. Like Daria included. And so I bring them out, and I don't do obedience, but I bring them out on prong collars because I just want them not to pull as hard, right? And essentially, if you put a prong collar on your dog and they pull into it, it's uncomfortable for them. Yeah. They legit pull into that as hard as they do into an agitation collar, which if you don't know what an agitation collar is, it's a big, padded, thick, flat collar that is super comfortable for the dog to pull into. And so my dogs pull into these prong collars as hard as they absolutely can, and yet they don't cause any damage to my dogs. I've checked. I'm like, there's no way you're pulling that hard into this prong collar and you're not hurting yourself. And like I look at their neck afterwards and there is no injury, no punctures, no scratches, no nothing. So for those people out there saying that, oh, I used a prong collar and it punctured my dog's neck and they had all these holes in them, I'm like, no, they didn't. Unless you did something specifically to make that prong collar puncture your dog, like maybe sharpening it, or if you have a really like cheap, poorly made prong collar, possibly.
Yeah.
There is a very infamous picture on the web of a dog's neck who has all these like 2x2 puncture holes, but that was not from a prong collar. But everyone's like spreads it around, like, look what the prong collar did to this dog.
What was that?
It was from someone who had like one of those cool like spike collars.
Yeah.
And turned it inside out.
What the? People are so dumb. People are dumb.
People are stupid. So like, yeah.
Anyway,
but what people think is if they just put this prong collar on their dog and the dog doesn't pull as hard, that's going to teach the dog to heel.
Yeah.
And that's not how they work.
Yes. And now that we've talked about the horrors of the prong collars, we can kind of loop in a lot of anything that people think is no pull stuff, like the easy walk harness, the gentle leader, the head halty, the regular harness. Like, I'm not going to name them all. Literally whatever you're thinking right now is going to stop your dog from pulling. I'm talking about that. There is not a single thing on this earth, and I've said this probably just about every episode. We need like a tally counter of how many times I've said this. There's not a single thing on this earth that will teach your dog to heel on the leash without training. Like, nothing. And if you invent it, sign me up to be the first to goddamn try it. So like, the prong should not be viewed as a band-aid, and no training tool needs to be viewed as like a band-aid. It's all a piece of a very big puzzle. And training is usually a lot of them pieces. Your dog has to learn to do these things. I look at my equipment as a way to turn the volume up on my dog. And we've talked about this before, I think, where it's like, okay, the dog isn't quite hearing what I'm saying on a slip leash. We might move up to the star mark collar. Star mark collar is not loud enough. Okay, we'll move up to the prong collar. Because that way, if my dog is a little hard of hearing or is a little bit tougher of a dog, in the actual sense, they have a clearer feeling on that prong collar, instead of me sitting here and using all of my might on a slip leash to get the dog to do something that is like a fair thing. You know what I mean? So it's not a band-aid, it's an aid to improve what you've already done training wise with your dog. And also,
Yep. And so
yes,
I was going to add to that too. Like when we're talking about like turning up the volume, it's about, being able to communicate to our dog in the moment that this behavior was incorrect.
Yeah.
In a way that is clear, that makes sense, and that is still humane.
Yes.
Right. We were just talking about earlier, right? When I was in the military and I'd get in trouble and someone would yell at me, right? In my early days, I'd get yelled at or just told I did something wrong, and it'd be like the end of the world for me. I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. My life is over, right? As time went on, I was like, you can yell at me all you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? But there would be other ways that they could, correct us in the moment.
Yeah.
Now, we as humans, right, we don't have to be corrected or fixed in the moment. We could get a punishment later, right? If you ever get a traffic camera violation where a month down the road, all of a sudden you get a letter in the mail that says you were speeding last month, well, shit, right? We can make the connection between what we did a month ago and a punishment we're getting now.
Yeah.
But our dogs can't. And so what we can do is be able to give our dog a punishment in the moment that is fair, humane, but has meaning to our dog.
Yeah.
My Chihuahua, I can give my dog a correction on a slip leash and he gets it. It's perfectly fine. He understands. He fixes himself. He's fine.
Yeah.
If I use a prong collar, that's going to be way too much for him, and we're going to have far-reaching impacts that I don't want to have.
He's going to turn it.
But Exactly, right? And so we can have that volume knob depending on what our dog needs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're perfectly fine. And I actually, that reminded me of something I want to add, and it's kind of on the opposite side of what we're talking about with the prong, because I absolutely went through this when I was like really, really baby trainer, like baby trainer Kelly. Like no operant conditioning didn't exist yet. God, that was a time, huh? And you're watching all these people online because you're super into dog training, whatever. And this is a little bit more geared towards like aspiring trainers stuff. And you're seeing all these people with their Malinois and their badass dogs, and they're all on a small prong collar, like the 2.25 prong. And me being a little baby trainer, not understanding what tools were and all that stuff, was like, okay, a well-trained dog is ending up on the prong. That's the answer. That makes me a good dog trainer. And the tool does not make the dog cool or anything. The reason you see a lot of these high drive badass breeds like Malinois and Dutchies and all that stuff on these prong collars is they have so much want for what they're doing and so much intensity in themselves that you're needing that higher volume to really talk to them. Now, like Gracie at this point, my golden retriever, she does work on the 2.25 occasionally because I can use it for my like more fine corrections. And that's also a reason you'll see some of these cooler dogs on this equipment, because you can really, really get super nitpicky with your leash pressure. But
well, that's the thing too. Like, using that volume analogy with like that small prong collar.
Yeah.
Something that your training director used to say all the time is more pinch per inch. So with the smaller the prongs, the more aversive it is.
Yes.
And what that means is, like, using the volume analogy, I can whisper into a microphone.
Yeah.
But if the volume is turned all the way up, you can still hear it just fine. So if I'm using a more aversive tool, I can use less force, less, movement, less action on my part to get the same message across to my dog. So I can speak more softly, but still have my dog hear me clearly, if that makes sense.
Yes. But basically the prong collar is not a benchmark that all dogs need to hit. And that's like really important. And honestly, I'm surprised at the amount of like dog trainers and dog people that don't understand the pressure output, like the pinch per inch thing on the prong collar. I'm a part of a Facebook group, and you might be too, where it's like, I think it's called like hippity hoppity, you're using that prong improperly. The whole group, which I don't really comment in it, I'm there to watch the drama happen because it's freaking funny. But like a lot of the group that they're commenting about not using a prong properly don't know how to use a prong properly. Like, it's people going, here's my dog, what size prong do I need? And I don't comment on these at all because I'm like, I'm not touching this like at all. But it's like, well, how much pressure does your dog need? It's not as much about the size of your dog. And if anything, because it's usually people saying my dog is this big. If I'm going to base my prong size off anything, it's how small my dog is. Because now that Hermspringer has the shorty links, it's a little bit different. But like, take a small dog, they're probably not going to fit the larger prongs kind of thing. But yeah, the prong collar, it's about the pressure output you need more than the size of your dog for the most part. I hope that helps for that Facebook group.
I think so.
If you're listening to this and you're brave enough to comment that in there, go for it, but don't put my name on it. Keep me out of it. That's what I had for prongs, I think. Did you have anything?
Yeah. So let's talk about what people think are the safer or more humane tools.
Yes. And the clip, we just finished about the prongs, and we were about to talk about the safer tools that teach our dogs to walk.
The safer, gentler tools.
The safer side of the city. We're good to go? We're green to green?
We're good to go.
We're good to go. Okay. Chat, clip it. Anyway. So we see plenty of safer tools, and we talked about this a little bit in our last podcast episode. Go check that out. If you haven't checked it out yet, please. So, we see plenty of things in the pet store. We see the Gentle Leader. We see the Easy Walk harness. We see whatever that stupid foam triangle piece of shit thing is. I hate it. It just bugs me, okay? We see all kinds of crap that's like, this will stop your dog from pulling, whatever. Going back to my previous statement of the spirit of Jesus himself cannot teach your dog to walk on the leash. You need a training session for that. That holds true. And the thing is on all of that packaging or all of the promotional material you see, because I get the Instagram ads all the time, and I'm like, y'all are on the wrong page for this. The dogs are always healing beautifully. And guess what? The dog knew how to heal before they took that video. They are hired to do that. So don't believe the marketing. I don't know what else to really say in that, except what they don't tell you and what we don't see as much of online, because so many people are pushing these less aversive methods, is how aversive they actually are and how damaging they can be. So we just talked about the e-collar and we just talked about the prong collar, two what you would probably label controversial dog training items. But using our big juicy primate brains, we can reason and explore and understand that these don't cause harm to the dog when used correctly. The prong collar, as you said, does not put holes in the dog's neck. The e-collar does not burn the dog, like all that stuff. The thing is, with stuff like the head halter and the Easy Walk harness, it does actually cause damage to the dog when you're using it correctly. And honestly, when it comes to the Easy Walk harness, good for you to figure out how to use it correctly, because no one else can. I see them things coming crazy. But the head halter, we'll start with the head halter. You put it on the dog. Most people don't even condition their dog to it. So the dog's just like pulling at its face. What the heck? All of the pressure on that head halter is hitting right where if you feel your own skull, it'll bulge out and dip in where it connects to your neck. That's where that head halter is hitting. And that is a very sensitive part of anatomy, because that's where your brain and your spine go together. Putting pressure there, not bueno. And then, someone's going to be like, well, you use it on horses. And the answer is a horse is 1,000 goddamn pounds. The dog is not.
Horses also have to be trained how to use a halter.
Yeah, so horses are also halter broken from a young age, but we use that pressure on what we call the pole of a horse because the horse is so big compared to us. And when it comes to the Easy Walk harness, and if you do want to throw a graphic in of this, let me know. I have a great picture. The Easy Walk harness works by applying pressure in the dog's shoulder blade area so that when they pull ahead, it basically squeezes in their chest and turns them around. This is damaging over time, and you'll see it in pictures. The one I'm thinking of is a side-by-side of a Dalmatian who did not use the Easy Walk harness and a Dalmatian that did. And you'll see the little chest spot where their legs are going down, that chest area in between is narrow. So that harness has been squeezing on that dog so much that it's actually messed up the anatomy and narrowed the dog's chest. And again, using our big juicy primate brains, that's not bueno. Sometimes the feel-good option is not the actual literal feel-good option. It is quite painful. And that's
like we were just saying about the prong collar, yeah. Right? With the prong collar, I can use less force to still get the message across to my dog, right? Yeah. So it's the aversion of the tool that makes the dog not pull, yeah. Right? And if you want to use the prong collar that way, be my guest. There are far better ways to use it, but some people put it on their dog just to have their dog not pull as hard, which you can do, fine. And that's what these tools are as well, like the head halters, right? When the dog pulls, it pulls their head to the side, and that sucks for the dog, right? The dog does not like it. And so the dog stops pulling because it hurts when it pulls their head to the side. They stop pulling because the front of their harness is pulling their body sideways, right? It's really hard to pull forward when someone's pulling the front of you cockeyed, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes these tools stop the dog or make the dog pull less, essentially, is because it hurts or it's uncomfortable to pull.
Yeah.
That goes for like when people wrap the leash around the dog's waist. Yeah, I wouldn't want to pull either if the leash was tied around my junk. Like,
Yeah,
that sucks,
that
right?
was crazy to me.
So I get some people come in and say, well, I don't want to use a collar or I don't want to use a leash around my dog's neck because I'm afraid I've heard about, about collapsing their trachea.
Yeah.
Right. And, when you're talking about using like a no pull harness or like you were talking about the effects of the no pull harnesses on the front of the body and the issues you can have with that, you can have issues with their joints, with their shoulders. I had a client who said, oh, my dog has been limping for the past few months on their right shoulder. And, at another part in the consultation, we talked about what tools they were using. Like oh, yeah, we started using a no-pull harness, a front-attach harness, or I think they came in on a front-attach harness. And I made the connection. I'm like, hey, when did you start using this? And we made the connection that it was like shortly before they started showing this limp.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's probably why, right? And so we're seeing these injuries even with these quote-unquote humane tools. But if we can use a tool that we don't have to use as much physical pressure on the dog, on their body, on their skeletal structure, like pulling their head one way or the other, or pulling their shoulders together, or pulling them so they're walking sideways, right? That's a very unnatural behavior that can cause permanent and long-term damage or developmental problems.
Yeah.
If we can use a tool that's going to apply aversion in a way that's not going to cause these long-term effects, right? That's ideally what the prong collar should be used for. We're not causing developmental problems with their bodies, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we don't get. Like, I don't have to use a lot of pressure with a prong collar for my dog not to want to feel it again.
Yeah.
And so there's not the risk of collapsing their trachea because we're not using as much force or pressure. The dog's not pulling into it as hard. We're not applying as much pressure with it. And so that way you're not going to get, and it's going to easily or evenly disperse that pressure around the sides of the neck. Yeah. Whereas like with a regular flat collar, when a dog is pulling forward into it, all the pressure is on the front of that collar.
Yeah.
When you see a dog pulling into a collar and there's a big gap on the back of their neck, that means all the pressure is on the front. And that's what people aren't really thinking about when they're thinking about these tools. And the same thing goes for like an ill-fitted harness. If you don't fit a harness correctly, that harness is going to ride up the chest and again, just be putting as much pressure on that trachea as a collar would be.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. It just looks nicer, right? But you're doing the exact same thing to your dog when you don't understand how these tools work.
I think, honestly, is that the word humane is starting to lose its actual meaning. And as you always say, words mean things. So humane, this is not an actual definition. This is out of my brain. Humane just means like we're not putting more damage on the dog. We're not causing physical harm to the dog. The dog is like healthy and alive. But what I think humane is turning into in like the pet industry is this makes me feel good. It does not matter about the dog. This makes me feel good because a lot of
this is socially acceptable.
Yeah, it's like let's be as socially acceptable and as like catering to everyone else as we can be. And it's like you didn't even stop to think, how is this humane? You never asked why. Like plenty of people will stop and ask why something isn't humane, like the prong collar, but you're not going to ask, well, how is this easy walk harness humane? Because it does the pressure. We're just believing whatever the packaging is saying. So, just because it feels good doesn't mean that it feels good to your dog. And somehow
I don't know if you've been following the clip. So we posted a clip from last week's episode where Kelly was talking about this exact same topic just about, and talking about how we use how the tools apply pressure to the dog, and that pressure can be bad. And I don't know if you've been following it, but someone commented that the front attached harnesses don't actually apply pressure, quote unquote. They just redirect the dog.
What app is this? Let me at them. Please tell me.
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
So
better.
And I'm like, oh, I really wanted to comment and be like, can you show me how it redirects the dog without using pressure?
I would like to show them, but I have a confiscation bin that is full of contraband for this exact moment. I've been waiting.
Well, you should do it.
Yes, I will. You need to tell me when I have hate comments. I can't scroll through there's so many videos.
Okay, I'll go back and I will tag you. And then just say, "Be free, my wild beast." Let the dogs out.
Oh my gosh. I've been on so many people's like social media pages because of decoying and stuff. I can't keep up with the hate comments. I can't.
Oh, I love it.
It's okay. I live off of them now. Anyway, yeah. So, humaneness, I feel like, has almost come full circle to the point where we're trying to be so humane and so politically correct to the other humans in the world that what we're doing to the dogs is becoming not humane at all. So, we need to kind of take a minute, take a breather, get off of the internet, and think with that big juicy primate brain that we've been gifted with. Use your opposable thumbs to do some Google searches, and you'll have all the answers you need. That's simple.
Exactly.
Or call a dog trainer. That's also simple. I don't know what else to say. It makes me so sad.
We can do one last misconception, and I think we'll wrap it up for today. I think this is going to be a quick one, though.
Yeah, because we're damn near 2 hours.
I know. It wasn't actually 2 hours. Like 15 minutes of that was me waiting for you to get in the shower, so.
Oh my God. Well, you need to cut out the beginning where we chit-chat because it was not, I don't think it was a good conversation.
I'll edit it. It's fine.
Okay.
We'll be fine. So the last misconception, I'm just throwing this at the last minute so we'll cover it briefly, is that you are too expensive.
Oh my God, I just had this happen. Oh my God. Oh my God. Am I taking this one? Are we good with me just taking this on?
It's all you.
Okay. So I'm going to be really transparent and I'm going to give you guys my pricing. So I do minimum 4 weeks, no weekend breaks, just 4 weeks straight through. I do it because I want to make sure the dogs are learning in a good environment and at a good pace and all of that. And I priced myself $4,000 for those 4 weeks. So we're doing $1,000 a week. I also include all of my equipment. So if the dog needs a slip leash, they go home with a slip leash. They need a prong collar, they go home with a prong collar. They go home with place beds. If we decide e-collar training is a good fit, that's included for the right dogs that need it. I also include my pickup and drop off. And I also, which I think most people do as well, I'll offer like discounted boarding rates for my previous clients. So you're getting a good bit. I also do 3 months of free unlimited lessons and 3 months of free text me whatever you want and I'll do whatever you need me to do. I got told I was too expensive. If you factor in all of the things that I'm including in my training package, I'm actually priced lower than the industry average of $1,000 a week flat, no inclusions, whatever. But when you pay for dog training, you're not just paying for someone to come play with your dog. You're paying for all of the kennels in my kennel room. I have 4 kennels in there. That's probably about $2,000 in kennels that I have in my kennel room right now. You're paying for all the equipment that I use. You're paying for the risk and upkeep on my demo dogs, especially if we're doing dog reactivity. You're paying for my risk to your dog, being bit by your dog. Not to mention the years and years of education that we've been doing. I started messing around with animals in I think 2010. I started doing playing with horses and doing all that stuff. I was a child. I was not training them, but I was getting experience, right? So I've got all these years of experience. I'm 22 now, so I was young. I'm still young, I think. But I've spent, years doing mentorships. I've been doing years of going to little conference thingies. I'm drawing a blank. but Seminars, yes. I've spent so much money in those seminars, books, time listening to podcasts and information and stuff.
Let's break down the cost of just doing the board and train. So I know you have tons of equipment, and I know all the dog trainers we do, the equipment we have is expensive, and it really is. Over time, we're not going to factor that in forever, right? So let's break down your 4 weeks, right? So 4 weeks, it's 28 days because you do 7 days a week for 4 weeks. Yeah. So that's 28 days for $4,000. So if we do the math, and we're gonna math this real quick,
God,
okay? So we're gonna math. We're gonna do 4,000 divided by 28. So we're breaking down daily. That's $142 a day. $143 a day. So if you were gonna board your dog, the average boarding rate, do you know what the average boarding rate is where you're at?
I've heard people saying they're doing $13 a day. I don't know if that's the average, but that's pretty dang low.
The cheapest around here is 30.
See, that's what my price
That's
is.
cheapest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like normally, like if you're boarding your dog someplace, the cheapest you're going to find around here is like $30 a day. So from that 140, let's say we're not going to do the cheapest option. Let's say we get a little extra. We're going to do $40 a day. Yeah. So already just $40 a day out of that brings us down. Now it's $100 a day. That's for training. And that doesn't even include like all your equipment. So for my private lessons, I charge $100 for an hour of training for you and your dog, right? And so when your dog is coming out throughout the day, right? I know I take out the dogs pretty frequently, maybe like 5-6 training sessions. And each training session includes potty break, right? Doing your kennel manners, doing your door manners, and 5-10 minutes of training. And you do that 6 times a day, you're getting well over an hour's worth of training.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's a fly in here. On top of that, we also have our potty breaks in the evenings, or in the morning, in the evenings, whatever. And so those potty breaks also take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So that's on top of that, more of my time that you're paying for. And depending on what your package includes, I don't know if you do outings, right? Now we're talking about travel. You also include your pickups and drop-offs. Like, I would be charging at least $50 for a pickup and $50 for a drop-off. Yeah. And so that's another $100 off of that. And all of the equipment that you listed, if that dog goes home with all of the equipment and your e-collars, like, do you know what the value of your equipment package would be for like e-collar and everything else?
I think, let me do some math because I know about the pricing on the top of my head. This is priced to e-collar tech e-collars, which I'm not really trying to use anymore, but that's the numbers I have in my head. I think it's around like $200-$300 depending on what the dog goes home with.
The e-collar alone is $300.
Well, I'm pricing at my dealer pricing because I'm trying to be fair and give benefit of the doubt.
Okay. $200.
Yes, I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt.
So it's $200 just for the e-collar. The place bed is anywhere from like $50 to $100, give or take, right? Your leashes, they're not cheap. Prong collars are definitely not cheap.
Oh, why are they so expensive?
Like, they're so expensive because they're so good.
No, they do good craftsmanship.
Like a good clicker is not cheap. That's $10 just for a clicker, right? And if your dog is not food motivated and you have to use your own, special treats, like you got to pay for that yourself. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And when it comes down to the actual training of it, you're not paying very much for just the training portion of it. Like it's not much. Yeah. And it's like, and on the same time, like, I don't know. I feel like when I get the comment of like, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. Like, because the specific person I was talking to, and no hate to them, like they just didn't know. They thought I was charging like $1,000 for a month of training. And I'm like, either like for that to be feasible and for me to still be eating and having lights in my house like that work, I would either have to have 1 million dogs or I would be having to have another job. And guess what? Your dog's not getting all my attention because I'm working another full-time job. You know what I mean? So like, keep in mind your dog trainer is a person with house and lights and food and things. We need to eat too. So we're not just pulling pricing out of our butts because we know that it's like an industry we can charge for or whatever. We're pricing ourselves competitively for where our experience is, what we're providing you, and how we can maintain that level of quality for your dog while being able to get quality for ourselves and not be emaciated and sad. You know what I mean? So, for me to show up and be good and ready to go for work every day, I need to pay the power bill. Sorry. Well, also, like, you have to be able to make more than what you need to feed yourself, because you want to be able to save your pennies so you can go to really good seminars and continue to be,
Yeah.
the most well-educated dog trainer that you can be, so that you can continue for years to come to be at the top of your field, because everyone who's coming after us is getting the newest, most, modernized information and education on dog training, and we need to stay just as on the front of the curve as we can. So we need to be able to go to these seminars and go to schools, which is not free.
No.
Right? No one's out there just giving away free dog training information unless they're doing a podcast like we are. But the good information, the stuff that we need to be the best dog trainers we can, is not free. It's very expensive. When I went to school, I think it was about $15,000 to go to school for 3 months.
That's what I was
I know another, and then Tar Heel is like what, $20,000?
Yeah, they just up to 20,000. I know last time I saw Dogma, they were at like 21,000. I think AK9I, I think they're around 20,000, but I think you get a dog with them too, so it's a shorter program. Or it might have been like 25. I'm not sure, but like the cost of,
But even like weekend seminars can be anywhere from like, $600 to $1,200 just for a weekend.
well, I paid $400 for Gracie to go eat grass at Ben Lipinski's field. What's that?
That was your own fault.
I know.
I mean, I encouraged you. But...
Yeah. But, yeah, like people don't realize that these dog training schools cost like pretty similar to that time to be in a college or university. So it's not like I woke up yesterday and decided let's go be dog trainer. That a lot of work has gone in, and honestly, time wise, it probably would have been cheaper for me to go the dog training school route than it was for me to do mentorships and bootstrapping it and all that crap as well, So it's not an impossible field. I don't want people that are listening to this to be like, I don't want to do it now if you're like wanting to be a dog trainer. But there's a lot more than people seeing their dogs sit and stay and do door manners, for sure.
So, there's going to be those dog trainers out there who charge next to nothing. And you go, wow, why would I pay this much for that dog trainer when I can get the same thing for a third of the price? Well, guess what? You're not getting the same thing. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. If you're concerned about pricing, look at several, and I don't mean like 2 or 3. I mean like as many as you can, trainers in your area. Kind of vet them a little bit, like look at their website. Does it look like it's made from like 2002? Do they seem like they're pretty current on stuff? And look at like the median prices. Like what is the average price range? Because there's always going to be someone that's like maybe like 15 years old or something, and they're like, I'll come to your house and train your dog for $25.
I also think too, and I don't want to call people out or anything like that, but you're looking at like their websites and you're looking at like their pictures and their trainers. Look at everything that costs money.
Yeah.
So if you see people like trainers who have all these nice, really fancy matching vests that have their logos, everything on it, and vehicles with their logos all over it. Granted, I have like my name on the side of my vehicle, right? I paid $300 for that like 2 years ago.
That's not bad actually for that.
It's not bad, right? But you see people with their entire vehicle wrapped, or multiple vehicles,
or vans,
or you see like vans, right? Professional like photos or professional like websites made, all that sort of stuff. Like all that stuff costs money.
Yeah.
And like when you see people or companies that have dozens of trainers, like they're paying for HR, they're paying for human resources, they're paying for sales departments, they're paying for, they're paying a lot for things that don't go to your dog's training, just so you know.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at those prices too, keep that in mind. Like I know there are trainers around this area who have like a dedicated salesperson who's not a dog trainer, right?
Yeah.
And they have like people who just do their website, people who do their accounting, people who do all this stuff for them. And that's where a lot of the money goes to, that you're paying to have your dog trained.
Yeah.
And it can be convenient. That's great. But like when you pay someone like Kelly or myself, like we don't have accountants, we don't have HR, we don't have people taking professional photos for our websites, we don't have people managing our websites, right?
Yeah.
So your money is going directly to your training.
Speaking of the photos, this is a little off topic. I think it's so weird when dog trainers use stock photos. Like every single, like not for like one or two things where it's like I just need an example of this, but like in their advertisements and stuff. So I'm like every single picture, at least I think every single picture on my website and on my social media for the most part, unless it's like a little like TikTok slideshow thing where I'm being goofy, all clients, every single one of them, client dogs. It's just weird. And I've seen people with their vans wrapped in stock photos, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I've seen that too.
What are you doing?
If I'm going to get my entire vehicle wrapped in something, it's going to be like custom.
Yeah.
That's me and my dog.
It's going to be.
Usually most of the people I know do actually use their own dogs, but for like the websites and stuff like that, I definitely use a lot of stock photos because I suck at taking pictures of like, while I'm training a dog. Like I'm too focused on training the dog to like be taking good pictures. Like I'll snap pictures to the clients.
Yeah.
But like, it's the dog sitting there smiling at me and I take a picture of it. Like, I know you take a lot of those pictures too.
Yeah. I don't know. I've gotten good
Sometimes it's nice.
I don't know.
It's just nice to have some like nice pictures sometimes.
I have an arsenal. You can always take some of my arsenal. We probably, honestly, if people dive into my...
I use a lot of your client pictures still.
You know, I noticed that you did one of my ads, which I totally don't care about. Like, use whatever ads I've got, like, the leftover. Like, I literally don't care.
Well, half of your ads were taken, like, the photos were taken, like, in my old garage. So I'm like, it's fair.
I was gonna say, like, if you deep dive through my social media and your social media, it's gonna be really confusing because the same pictures posted multiple spots. So I can't wait for the Facebook post of KJ Canine isn't even a real trainer. She's stealing pictures from other trainers. And it's like,
or I'm gonna get the message like, "Hey, this person is using your pictures for their ads." Like,
she took it.
It's fine.
She took it. She's the only reason
she took that picture at my house.
Yeah, she's the one running the social media at that one point. Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're gonna wrap this up because we've been going for pretty long. Not too bad for an impromptu podcast episode.
I think it ran long because it was impromptu. Let's be for real.
Yeah, that happens. I feel like if we have it too planned, it gets boring, and it's like, I don't know.
We need to get a guest.
We don't go off on our tangents.
No, we haven't had a guest in a minute. We need to come up with a guest one.
We will. We'll talk about that offline so we don't get anyone's hopes up.
For real.
But, okay, in the upcoming weeks, surprisingly, nothing going on next weekend for me. I think I was thinking about doing something, but decided not to. And then the following weekend at Teamworks Dog Training here in North Carolina is the Dock Diving Battle of the Breeds. It's always a really big event. It's a charity fundraiser for, I can't remember what the charity is, but that means it goes to a good cause. So if you guys want to come out and do some dock diving with your dogs, it goes to a good cause and got to represent your breed. So we'll be representing the Dutch Shepherds and the German Shepherds. We will also be setting up a vendor table at the Battle of the Breeds dock diving event. So if you want to get some goods and wares, I just put in an order for like another $2,000 worth of equipment and stuff from all of your favorite brands. So those will be there. We do not sell e-collars at the dock diving place because they are forbidden at that place. But if you are looking to get an e-collar, just let me know. We can do it off. You can order it through the website, order it through me directly, whatever. What else is going on? They will also be doing a fetch trial the day of the Battle of the Breeds at Teamworks. So if you're looking to do fetch with your dog at any level, they're hosting all levels. You can do day of entry. You can register ahead of time. But just Google Teamworks in Youngsville, North Carolina. All the information is on there. I don't own that business at all. I just go there and patronize their business, and I give them all of my money. So when you pay me for dog training, I pay them to let me throw my dog in the pool and get a pretty ribbon to put on my wall. That's it. That's where all my money goes. So,
yeah.
Kelly, what do you got?
First of all, can we just talk about the seedy e-collar parking lot deals happening over here?
Dude, that has literally happened. We were at one of those events and someone wanted a prong collar. I'm like, they're in my car.
Imagine what you gotta do. By the way, you should totally make a video about the new fetch titles because I still don't 100% understand them. So you should. That's a great.
They're on YouTube already.
Oh my god! I mean, like you could probably post a TikTok going, "Are you interested in the new AKC fetch titles? This is what they're all about." Make TikToks anyway.
Not like you. I don't do social media
I'm
very
pushing
well.
you to be better, and also because my attention span does not want to watch a YouTube video. Give me clip notes.
Okay, I can do Cliff Notes, I suppose. I'm really good at Cliff Notes because I think that like when people do like the YouTube videos for the fetch events, like they get way too deep in the weeds with it. I'm like, it is not that complicated.
So long.
You throw ball.
Yep.
Dog go get ball.
Yeah.
Congratulations, here's your ribbon.
Oh shit, well Gracie and I could go do that. Anyway.
Oh my god, yes. Dude, you and Gracie could do the fucking retriever level today.
Probably. She do love that. Anyhow.
It's not hard, I promise.
As long as no one's smoking marijuana near the field. Because I made the mistake of training my dog on that. So as soon as she smells that, brain stops working. Anyway, don't do that. Don't be me. It ruins your dog. Yeah. Anyway, I don't really have anything going on because I don't do anything. If you do need dog training, I do have some openings. August is starting to look a little bit full as far as boarding dogs go. But my training dogs take priority, so I'm more than happy to open up spots for training dogs. I do free phone consultations. I no longer do free in-person consultations, but the price of your in-person consultation will come off of your package. Yeah, that's really all I got other than follow me on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube also. It's all some form of KJ Canine dog training somehow. Sometimes it's .dt, whatever. You'll see the logo. My username picture is always the same logo. So figure it out. That's it.
I like it. Very cool. And you can also follow Airborne Canine all the socials. I don't care as much about the socials, but if you want to follow us, you can. We are not nearly as entertaining as KJ Canine. Kelly does a fantastic job entertaining us all with her stellar personality, and her Gracie and Scoob videos are always my favorite. I cannot wait for all the Dick videos.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Dixie, nicknamed Dick, is my new Chihuahua. I'm not posting Dick videos. Hold on.
I want all the dick pics and all the dick videos.
You know my dick's too big to fit on a phone screen.
But you are like 5 pounds. No, 9 pounds.
Yeah,
you have a 9-pound dick.
She's 9.5 pounds. She's very obese. And we're working on everything. It's just right now, like, her training is so slow and uneventful that it's, like, hard to post anything right now. But we're working on it. Also, I don't want all, like, your dog.
You gotta get creative.
I know. I should just make her a little baked potato wrapped in foil.
There you go. Perfect. Besides, she's so cute. She doesn't have to do anything.
You need to send me a video of Bruno, and then I can be like, Dixie before I rescued her. And it's Bruno.
I got
and then
so if you're watching this on the YouTubes, I got the cutest thing ever. So Bruno went to the dock and went swimming.
What?
He did great. I don't think he liked it. He will. We're gonna get there. But I got the cutest thing for him.
I got a little tiny life jacket.
It's the world's smallest life jacket for Bruno. It's so little. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the life jacket. It's adorable. It's so small.
It looks like a beer koozie.
Right? It's teeny tiny. But yeah, I'm super excited to go try it out with him. If I can get him jumping off the dock, we are going to demolish the lap division, which for people who don't know, lap just means little dogs.
He's going to jump and it's just going to go boink, like a little splash, boink, like a dripping.
Hey, it doesn't matter how far they go. If they fall in the pool, you get a ribbon. So if people are like, oh, my dog only jumps 2 feet, congratulations, 2 feet passes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Gracie jumps 9. She's great.
I don't know, because Gracie hasn't registered for any dock diving events yet, so officially she doesn't jump at all.
It probably is going to stay that way, to be honest.
That sucks. You're so mean to her.
The closest dock is in Aransas Pass that I know does events. Like, there is a dock diving pool near me, but I don't think they do, like, actual events yet, because it's brand new.
I literally on a Thursday drove 3 hours and 15 minutes to go jump twice and come back 3 hours and 15 minutes.
That's North Carolina, 3 hours and 15 minutes. Texas, 3 hours, because it's about the same, is like so many miles. So many fucking miles. Because you're going 85 the whole goddamn way. If the speed limit is 85, you're going 95, and it still takes the same amount of time. By the way, I get to drive regularly on the fastest road in America, just to brag. I think it's the one that says Pickle Parkway. One of the roads I drive a lot says Pickle Parkway, and I love it.
Medic is crying to come back inside now because he's done doing his pippies.
We
so
run 2 hours and 10 minutes. Let's end this podcast.
All right, folks. I am Ashley with Airborne Canine.
I'm Kelly with KJ Canine. I don't know when to talk.
I know, it's hard. Go out there, go train your dogs, do fun things, have fun, be smart, use your mammalian brain, and understand how things work. And if you don't understand it, even after you try, that's when you can give us a call and we can help.
End.
All right. Yeah. Enjoy your day with your dog. Best podcast.
There's so much editing on that. Jesus Christ.